We had a duty to resuscitate that economy. We had a duty to have a currency of our own as a country. Well, unless you with latest technology. But we of the old school, we know that there is no country which has no currency of its own. So we felt that Zimbabwe must also have its own currency. And I brought this professor from Cambridge in economics and the governor. These are all academics, very bright boys. Well, when their children are there, I don't call them boys, gentlemen. So we looked at the fundamentals until we reached a conclusion that it was now appropriate for us to move away from a basket of currencies and introduce our own currency. That has its own challenges, and they were going through those challenges. I'll come back to that issue as we go on. Then secondly, to address the question of the collapsed economy and in an environment of sanctions, it was necessary for us to interrogate the resources at our disposal to use them for reconstruction of our economy. So primarily, without foreign aid, we have our land, which of course was the basis for one, the armed struggle. Secondly, when we took back our land, it invited sanctions on us. So we made sure that we make each hectare of our land productive. That's number one. Number two, we have vast minerals in the country, in the mining sector. I think we have more than 41 minerals in the country. So we had to do our best to exploit the extractive sector of our economy, the mining sector, and attract investment in that area. And both we didn't have capital, we didn't have skills, we didn't have modern technology, but we had the minerals. So we had then to introduce a re-engagement and engagement policy in order to attract investments into the country. And with that, I have my foreign minister and other ministers who have gone out in Europe, East Asia, speaking about Zimbabwe is open for business and articulating the position in relation to all those areas. Our industry in relation to industry and commerce also is obsolete. It requires retooling. For 20 years or so, we never revived or had access to new technology or machinery. That's an area, again, we needed to attend to. Then, of course, we had to realize that we shouldn't continue exporting raw materials. So we have a policy dealing with how to develop and modernize production or mechanization of agriculture, mining and so on. And then second phase is the agro-processing, beneficiation and value addition of products, whether they're agriculture or mining. Then third is the marketing. We need to know and have our young people into the marketing of goods and introduce ourselves into the global markets. Now, to do so, it is necessary two possibilities. One, we do it at the pace of our own capability. Secondly, we do it by opening Zimbabwe in order for foreign capital as well as foreign skills and technology can come into our environment. So we chose both. That's what we are doing. And we have a reasonable success in all these areas. Now, this required us now to introduce the cost to attend to the cost of business and the ease of doing business. In doing so, we needed to introduce austerity measures That is, to now look at pieces of legislation which constrain the expansion or growth of the economy. And then that, it required to introduce austerity measures, principally in relation to the fiscal sector. We have the Professor Ntuli Ngube in that area. With regard to the monetary policy, we have Dr. Mangunja in that area. So we had to introduce pieces of legislation to deal with the consolidation of the fiscal side of the economy. And I'm happy that as a result of austerity measures introduced, for the first time, Zimbabwe is registering a budgetary surplus, which has never happened before. On the monetary side, yes, we had we introduced the one currency now, but it has been, for the first 6 weeks or so, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, it remained stable. But then our people are very intelligent. We have people who find ways to fight that and undermine. But yesterday also became smarter than they are being smart. So we took some action yesterday. And the governor was not there. He's just coming from East Africa. He was not in the country. But I'm sure your colleague must have briefed you by now what actions we have taken. And we've now arrested the galloping rate, which was galloping from about 8. Within a few days, it had gone up about 20, 23, 24. By the time we left, it had come down to about 15 or 16. I think today it is around about 14. They're still coming down. Those who put up some